مر الزمان تألقا وأضاء للدنيا طريقا مشرقا وهدى من الرحمن يهدينا به للصالحات وللمكارم والتقى هذا كتاب الله أعذب منهل أنعم به.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to the 31st episode of this series, the 40 hadith pertaining to the virtues and the rulings of the Qur'an. In today's episode, we will look at the well-known hadith of Abdullah ibn Umar radiallahu an, which is reported at Tirmidhi and other books of hadith, whereby the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "La taqra'u al-ḥā'iḍ wala al-junub shay'an min al-Qur'an." That the one who is in a state of menstruation, the one who is on her menses, as well as the junub, the one who is sexually impure, then they should not recite anything from the Qur'an. This hadith, as we mentioned, is reported in at-Tirmidhi, and it is a hadith which is disputed in terms of its authenticity. Without a shadow of a doubt, it does suffer from some weakness, and hence many scholars did say the hadith is weak, although many other scholars did say it has supporting chains of narration, which therefore elevate the status of this hadith. Interestingly, it is Imam at-Tirmidhi rahimahullah, after narrating this hadith, he said that it is the opinion of jumhur ahlil ilm, that the opinion of the majority of the people of knowledge, the majority of the people of knowledge from the companions and those who came after them, from the ai, they all held it to be impermissible for a menstruating woman and someone who is junub to recite from the Qur'an. And this is actually the view of Imam Abu Hanifa rahimahullah, Imam al-Shafi'i rahimahullah, and Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal rahimahullah jami'an. Imam Malik though rahimahullah was of the view that in certain cases a woman can recite the Qur'an if she is on her menses. However, as I said, really it seems to be the view of the classical, the opinion, the majority of classical ulama and the fuqaha, that it is impermissible. And a person might say, well, if the hadith is da'if or it has some weakness in it, then why is it that all of these fuqaha they said it's impermissible? This is because really this matter has a lot of supporting evidence as well. It has a lot of supporting evidence to suggest that really a woman who's on her menses shouldn't recite from the Qur'an. Because the scholars, they said, then we'll find all scholars generally agree that the one who's, for example, is sexually impure, then he shouldn't recite from the Qur'an, because that there are many other supporting evidence and many hadith explicitly mention that the one in a state of sexual impurity should not recite the Qur'an. And the scholars generally said a ḥā'iḍ, the woman who is on her menses, her state of impurity is more severe than the impurity of someone who is sexually impure. The proof behind that is that a person who is in a state of sexual impurity can simply do ghusl and he is free and he's completely pure. Whereas the menstruating woman, it's not enough for her just to do ghusl. Rather, she has to stop bleeding and then do ghusl, and then she becomes pure. And that's why the scholars, if you look classically, they would say this, that the one who is in her menses, then her state of impurity is more severe than the one who is sexually impure, and hence there are many other rulings pertaining to a woman who is on her menses. Other important points as well that we need to maybe reflect upon, and a question people naturally ask is, can she, if she is a teacher of the Qur'an or she memorizes the Qur'an, does she have a concession to recite the Qur'an if she's on her menses? Now, some scholars were of that view, and many contemporary scholars are of that view, that if she's a teacher of the Qur'an or she's someone who regularly memorizes the Qur'an, then she can recite the Qur'an. However, wallahu alam, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best, there are many alternatives as well. So if you're a teacher, for example, then a person then she can, for example, use an MP3 player or a computer to repeat the verses, get a proficient reciter and play it, and for the children to listen to, put on repeat mode for the children to follow thereafter. And it's permissible for her to even correct the recitation of a few words from ayat as well. That is permissible as well. And also, she can revise, if she memorizes the Qur'an, she can revise the Qur'an during such a time as well, by listening to the recitation of the Qur'an, even revising it in her mind. She can do that as well. Now, many people, they argue and they say it is inconceivable that a woman can, spend 6 to 7, 8, 9, 10 days without reciting the Qur'an. How can you deprive her of such good? Then we say it is the agreement of the scholars that a woman is not allowed to pray when she is on her menses, and that is the greatest act of ibadah. So if she is deprived from praying her salawat when she is on her menses, then why should we find it strange that she is not allowed to recite the Qur'an as well? And as we said, there are many alternatives. She can read from the translation of the meaning, she can read books of tafsir, she can make dhikr, okay? When she's on her menses, she can listen to the Qur'an. There's nothing wrong with that. And Aisha radiallahu anha used to even say that the Prophet ﷺ, he would lay down his head on my lap and he would recite the Qur'an whilst I was on my menses. Whilst I was on my menses. Indicating that there's nothing wrong with a person listening to Qur'an when she's on her menses. Also, this shows how the Sahabiyat, that they understood that there was an issue with that of ḥā'iḍ and Qur'an, menstruation and Qur'an. They knew that there were barriers, between the two, and hence she explicitly mentioned وَأَنَا ḥā'iḍ, whilst I was menstruating. This is not to say that the opinion that says that you don't have to, that a menstruating woman can recite from the Qur'an, that is a valid opinion amongst the fuqaha, but I'm merely giving to you what majority of the scholars of the past said, and perhaps this is the safer opinion, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. And in the next episode, inshallah ta'ala, we will look at the importance of reciting the Qur'an in a beautiful manner, and the importance of adhering to the rules of tajweed, etc. So until the next episode, inshallah, barakallahu feekum, wassalamu
تألقا وأضاء للدنيا طريقا مشرقا وهدى من الرحمن يهدينا به للصالحات وللمكارم والتقى نور على مر الزمان تألقا.